Hey, muy buenas noches, everyone. I hope everybody's doing well, blessed, and enjoying family. As always, muchísimas gracias to all for everyone's words, wishes, time, prayers, and of course, for the love you guys extend and send my way. From the heart, gracias. And do please, at least if this video is to somewhat of your liking, do hit the like, share, or comment, por favor. Now, to get into the topic on hand, well, on this one, I want to talk about, well, a camarada that, you know, at one point, he was a good homie, right? A real good place camarada in every sense of the word. You know, I met this camarada since I was with Raul in Quilmas, back in '97. He was coming in for a couple hot ones from Watsonville. They called him Pelon. For those who know him, Pelon Sanchez, he's a good homie, right? And again, he had that L on him, right? So when I met him in Quilmas, the first running with him, I was like dumbfounded, excuse me, that cause he had PSC across his neck, right? And you know, I was like, man, my neighborhood, right? But then I come to find out it was Portside Chicos in Watsonville. Of course, I have met a couple of them before on the streets, but you know, just by palabra, mainly tacas, placazos, things like that. Not in that sense, right? Anyways, by talking to him, homie had a lot of plans, right? As this dummy to put his neighborhood in the right people's ears. At least what we all expect want, right, for our neighborhood to be heard, to be acknowledged, and the higher ups, right? I was that person, I was a lifer, so I had gave everything up for my neighborhood, so I might as well just go balls out inside as well, right? So, anyways, I don't want to make this too long, but well, you guys know we ended up taking off from Wilma's was reception. I'm not really sure where he went to at first, right? I didn't hear about him till 2003 around there. I was in Corcoran shoot, and he was there. I didn't hear about him till I was over there on B yard, right? And I heard he was doing things, right? For example, well, just had the responsibilities for jardines, for certain pilis, you know, like Santiago and Fast Freddy, you know, just a couple pilis. And at this time is again, that's all I thought myself, right? So I'll be honest, it was joyful, right? He was doing things correct and given a different mindset when it came to camaradas from Northern California. Nevertheless, things played out within time, and it was them times where IGI was just looking for for any excuse to be sincere to slam bottles, right? So of course, bottles will get back there validated and they were analyzed with the scope, because well, they IGI could say Misa, but in reality, people organize. For example, if you were something, Pilis are gonna pull you to their pots. And just because you're validated back there, don't mean you're part of the circle, right? Nevertheless, you know, we function as one, but separation goes in everything. But I went up to Pelican Bay, for the issue in Corcoran, and up in Pelican Bay was 2008. Yeah, around there. Excuse my dates or my mind ain't where it's supposed to be right now, but yeah, it was around that time, and he was up there, right? I heard of him because he was addressing a couple issues when it came to weight that was delivered to Sleepy from San Jose, right? This is before he got blessed, and basically that's how I came to the picture, right? When it was comparing prices, and I heard about the camera. Basically Sleepy just asked me what I thought, and what were the angles to look for, because it was supposed to be coming straight from the kitchen, right? From Michoacan. And I just told him, just make sure you just take the proper steps, And anyways, Sleepy decided to pick up something from Pelon, or in this case it was from Fast Freddy, right? And did direct it to whoever he was under, and he picked up some other things from my family, right? So you could say we became associates to some sense, right? Because we're sharing avenues, because it came with taking it to San Jose, right? So it was. I don't need to get into all that detail. At one point, homie had his whole neighborhood, and to be sincere, that's what. If you really love your neighborhood, you go in and strive for, right? To have the overall look for your neighborhood and be the buffer zone when it comes to the appeals, right? To look for the best benefit, at least. That's the way I thought of it, Try to be that chill to take drama of your neighborhood, right? But you guys seen it just don't work that way, right? Power goes to the head, and usually to prove a point, it becomes wanting to do things for the heart, for one's neighborhood, to hurting your neighborhood, to utilizing not just that little power you could say you have, but also that respect in your neighborhood, because you're doing all day for your neighborhood, right? And you start attacking your neighborhood when there's no need, right? When different avenues could be directed to stop that focus, because people make that mistake, For example, they think Billys are gonna look well upon you really going balls out on your own homies, right? They do it, there's nothing wrong with it, but they're above whatever we do, period, right? So, you guys seen it time and time again, For example, Wicked from Blythe, I could name a whole bunch, right? Where for small stuff they're taking people's, I'll just say careers, right? Say it less. And it's your own neighborhood. You start taxing your neighborhood. You start wiggling that green light issue in your neighborhood to press lines. Is what Pelon started doing, right? And around this time, a couple of years has gone by, right? And I didn't feel comfortable with it no more. Why? Cause I've seen it a few times where either they did slip up and they're gonna get their an extra smile carved into them, or they're just gonna roll it up, and go balls out and start singing. So I told Sleepy this. He had already been blessed, right? And I told him that I disculp him, but I don't want to associate myself like that with someone that didn't have value for what he shared, right? Because if you don't hold that love for your neighborhood, and then definitely you're not gonna hold any type of respect or loyalty to people. You're just doing certain things, and most of the time they get hit, and they start singing again, and you basically go down with them, right? So what pushed it over the edge, and the main reason for the story was, he started being loyal to Fast Freddy, and it's a time where Fast Freddy was in Watsonville and was going out to court there, right? And so Pelon addressed his own homeboys, right, on the streets to basically put a little kitty together when it came to work and organize themselves to take it into county for the Pili, right? It's just another way for Pelon to be lambe, and you're already there in that spot. There's no need to again to put your homies through stuff like that, right? There's different angles that could be taken than requesting camaradas to from your own neighborhood, right? To risk it going to county and just to please a man, right? When you could just make that money and just, if you really want to please him, get it to him in full, right? But nevertheless, I guess it's part of, be sincere. Well, I will get to that, but again, I was that dummy, right? Now, disculpen, I'm not trying to disrespect Pelon, even though, but anyways, some of that, again, we're still doing things, right? And some of that was supposed to go in for Fast Freddy was still in there, right? When it came to my angle. And the homies got popped, you know? And I know you guys know who Raton and what's the homie names? Skaters, something to that effect, right? Anyways, there was three homies from Watsonville, young homies too, right? That got popped. And as you guys know, they didn't just get that jale, right? For the jale, excuse me, but one of them, please excuse, I'm not sure which one, but it was the youngest one of them all, right? He basically, when he was in county, he felt like singing opera, right, to the cops, and told the whole story how Pelon was basically threatening them, right? It was in the paperwork that got sent up that what he was telling them in the sense of, I'm just gonna be like this. It's rare to even hear a Billy talk like that to somebody. Nevertheless, you wouldn't expect an older vato would treat his own homeboys right from the neighborhood, but man, I would never woof like that, to somebody. But then to be surprised why one of them went sideways and wasn't willing to do time for him for what he did. I'm not making up excuses for why they go weenie, but from the gate there was this respect there. You know, yo soy el más chingón type of stuff from Pelon to them with threats and stuff. It was nothing like, hey, do me a bottle for the neighborhood, and we gotta show the Billy some love. You about to start on probation, just something small, get a little violation, go in, take it in, and do me the favor, por favor. I'll make sure your name, them type of things. Nah, it was your dude. I'm gonna have all the homies jump on you, and in that sense, which is dumb, right? When they send that up to a Billy up there, and again, I seen it because you guys know how I had to cover my angle too, right? In the sense that the Billy had to know that some of that going in came from my angle, and there was still a debt there, right? Just to basically put some clause on it to get paid, right? And it didn't, basically it got lost, and guys know it's part of, right? And Fast Freddy wasn't happy, because his name got rubbed into everything. It was supposed to be a favor from him, and his name was being utilized for threats when it came to these homies, right, or Courtside. And you guys know the rest, Federico's or took over, and it became a possession of dope or trying to bring contraband into the facility to organize, because Fast Freddy got involved. So the first issue on hand was Fast Freddy issuing, everybody that was involved in that, they were gone, period. And the one in charge of finding out all the names and everything was Pelon. And you think Pelon would actually be like, hey, well, them three vatos that got busted with the three vatos doing now started hyenas and abuelas and whoever was involved on the streets from Homeboy's area got thrown under the bus with Fast Freddy, and they got put on that list, alright? But here comes the kicker, right? I spoke about this many times, which is when you're under a Billy, Pelon at some point, decided again to be straight back and forth just with Fast Freddy. Don't know where it happened, I'll be lying with to you guys. But he cut off Chuco and well, different Billys he was doing things with, right? And just stayed with the Fast Freddy because I understand it. I'll just say it like that, right? But you guys know Fast Freddy got put on the shelf for a while, so everything was under suspicion when it came to his soldados. Not every soldado that was underneath him got whacked, right? Or got put on the list because a lot of them, to some sense, they were supporting many Pilis, but Pelon was one of them, you could say loyal ones, right? To a certain Pili deal. And unfortunately, he got given an option, right? And the option was this. This is what the game became, right? And this is again 2012, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. You know, time had passed. They wanted 20K and to work under a different billing after paying the 20K and give all Fast Freddy's avenues when it came to Watsonville, Santa Cruz, you know, that little area where Pelon had reach. By this time, Pelon had burned every bridge with his neighborhood, right? Literally, because of the people that they started hunting after, and got the warning like, hey, for listening to Pelon, trying to please this man, all of you be considered trash now. So it went from doing something good out of respect to something biting you in the butt, as it usually does. Pelon validated lifer again. At this time, we didn't have no clue we were getting out the shoe. And I'll be sincere, I had already made up my mind is where I was gonna go at, right? Which was in the shoe. And or like it did, but under different circumstances, end up in the feds, right? But nevertheless, you know, Pelon decided to, sabes que hay te ves, and you know, go American Idol, start singing. Excuse me. On the, but anyways, he started singing, and again, for some reason, when it came to me, Sleepy, the homie from Eastside Santa Cruz, a couple vatos that were out there, right? He did not, he did not sing on, right? But he did on Fast Freddy, on Chuco, Mosca, oh, a few Billies, right? That his name became just one of them wanted individuals by many cabezas, right? But Homeboy told on stuff that wasn't even relevant, right? Which were what some other vato had eventually told, you know, there was new avenues to communicate, things like that. That Homeboy just hurt the whole Ramfla, right? Instead of just saying, I gotta bounce, doing what you gotta do, but nah, you gotta go out full force, right? And hurt everyone, which I don't believe in that, right? Nevertheless, you know, by this time, of course, I had a few homies answering to excuse me, my mind's so messed up. But anyways, to Fast Freddy, right? And it's for why for a small while they got on that verde, right? Which was a fine or, you know, 6, 7 inches to everyone till they did pay or they checked in. And me personally, I didn't think it was right, but it was all Pelon's doing. You can't even blame the Pilis. The Pilis did what they do. And at this time, it wasn't as bad as you see today. But anyways, do excuse my mind, so shout out a lot a lot of issues happening, but I don't want to bore you guys with it. Just God's great, and the purpose or the end look to this one is, you know, don't live up to that myth. You see, that's what it becomes. Little by little, you go in being a stone, right, for your neighborhood. After all, whatever you do for your neighborhood, right? And slowly they start carving you in inside to, it ain't about how strong you are or even what you could pull in, what you can lace up, boot up, and handle business at, or how to handle business physically, mentally. They eventually want you to be doing and covering their dirty work. Even when it comes to that, you're on the street sacrificing everything for, which is respectful, right? Which is your neighborhood. But you see, it ain't respectful when you allow these individuals, next thing you know, like Pelon, or like myself, I'll straight up say it, right? You start bringing drama, and not just drama. In Pelon's case, he started literally bringing hurt to his own neighborhood. So you know that myth to go in and earn your stripes as a sureño for your neighborhood, as possible. But again, don't look what's happening, and it don't have to be from people speaking ill, right? Everybody's giving out the message the way they want to, their angle, what they lived in prison, period, right? But everybody will tell you, you go in to be a puppet and now to be punked, and you can't do nothing, and it ain't because of these individuals. Because in reality, if camaradas would decide to pop their head, they will be gone. But it's our own camaradas that will be the ones. How many people you see now go in for 2, 3 years and end up catching life? Don't take that risk. Be about your business for your neighborhood. But at all time, the angle should always be staying true to yourself and loyal to family. Muy buenas noches.